All right, these are just some rough sketch that I did. I didn't even use a ruler, but I did use graph paper to try to determine measurements for the drawers. And this is the original sketch that I did, and I matched it up with the dimensions of the outdoor bar slash cabinet. So around here is the let me get a long shot here. There you go. There's the layout of the face frame that I'm going to put on. Now what I'm using here is I'm going to use biscuits to join it all together, and I'm going to use then I'm going to sand it all down. I may just go straight to polyurethane since it's on the reverse side. I may go ahead and stain it after I sand it. Not 100% sure yet. I'll play that one by ear. I'm going to zoom in and show you some measurements and how I arrived at what I did. So closest to us is going to be 2 doors. And then furthest away is going to be 2 shorter doors and 2 drawers. So let's go in here. What I did here was I marked where the biscuits would go, and yes, it's gotten a tad out of whack, but marked where the biscuits will go, here, up here, and then I marked the biscuit. Those are the measurements of the boards, the individual boards that I cut. You see I'm going to have a biscuit on, actually, let me close that. But anyway, I'm going to have a biscuit on both sides there. And I'm going to have a biscuit on both sides there. And then up here, you see where I marked out. This large drawer here is 21 inches. And I need that for the grill tools. And it's 7 inches deep. So it'll probably finish out at something like 6 3/4 inch deep by the time I put the drawer bottom in. And then this one here measures out something like 12.5 inches ish, and that'll just be for like the strikers for the lighters for the grill, and maybe some thermometers, things like that. Got 2 short doors down here, and they're evenly spaced and with the biscuit marks there. And I even wrote biscuit on the line so I would know where to put the biscuits. If you've never used a biscuit joiner, it's pretty handy to have when you're doing something like this. And I don't use it a lot, but I am going to use it here. Now, here's another thing that is going to be problematic, but I think I've solved it. So as we go out here and we see the larger face frame, this is 7 feet long. I do not have 7-foot long clamps. The longest I've got is 6. So what I've decided to do is to frame up one section and then clamp it so that the biscuits will dry good. And as soon as that's dry, should take an hour or less. Then I'm going to frame up the other section and then clamp it to the original section. So I do have 4-foot clamps. I actually have some 6-foot clamps, but each section of this is less than 4, so I can use the 4-foot clamps on that. So I'll show you as I progress through this what I'm trying to accomplish. All right, I'm set up here. Got everything marked like I just showed you, and what I'm going to do now is video actually doing the biscuits. There's a line on the board, and there's a corresponding line on the biscuit joiner. There you have it. Now we'll put the biscuits in. So I reconstructed everything, and what I did here was I laid out my clamps, and then I've got these pipe clamps. You can see one on the far left and one's out of camera on the right. I'm going to have to glue these up in 2 sections because it's so long. I don't have clamps long enough. I do have a fair assortment of clamps, but not enough to do the job. So these shorter clamps are going to glue up, and really all I'm trying to do here is get them snugged up because it's going to dry, and I'm not trying to hold them for an hour or two because I don't think they're going to pop back out, but I just want to make sure I get them clamped down and snugged up at first. Okay, it turns out that my 4-foot clamps weren't long enough to do one section, so I'm going to pretend that you're in the situation that I'm in and you don't have all the tools you need. I do have a couple of 6-foot pipe clamps, and they would definitely work, but then I'd have to take all this off and set those up separately, so not going to do that. So what I'm going to do is when I do glue it up, I'm going to use this mallet, and this mallet, typically a mallet has woodworking mallet has like a 3 to 5 degree slant on it, so that when you're hitting square. I have several mallets that I made. This is the first one I ever made, and it's made out of oak, and it's laminated, and the head is laminated. So what I'm going to do here is I've got it squared off for a reason, because what I'm going to use it for is what I've done before is to use it to tap in those biscuits and get those tight without using those long pipe clamps. So you'll see now when we start to glue up. And I need my glasses because I just want to see a little bit better than I typically do. So what I'm doing is I'm dropping some glue into the holes. So you can see how frustrating glue up can be. It's one of those things that you can't predict. Even though I laid out my clamps, I found myself needing those long clamps. So I took a couple other clamps and did an old clamping trick of using 2 clamps to make one longer clamp with. And then it started bowing up on the end, so I had to clamp it down to the tabletop. Hopefully it's going to be flat enough. I'm going to let it sit here for about an hour or so before I glue up the second section. Okay, here we are with the face frame installed. Now, I did not urethane the face frame ahead of time. Probably will do that. Also on top, just to get a perspective of how my live edge top would lay out. You can see I just put a piece of OSB up there and sort of rough measured it out on this side, and then on the other side it's got a bigger overhang, and over here it's got even a bigger overhang, and of course it wasn't long enough to do the end. The point being that this is the face frame installed, so now I've got to go to laying out for the drawers over here on the right, and then the 2 small doors down at the bottom, and the 2 larger doors on the left. So one thing I also decided to do was not stain the inside. And again, it's not going to be visible to the naked eye except when you open the doors, and it's going to be okay because it'll reflect better if it's a little lighter in there. So it's no big deal. It's going to look good when it's finished.